shit was different and it was different fast. And then you got people calling you every day and you got comments on the internet saying you're gonna get a RICO, and I don't even think people know how serious that is.
Oh, I don't think they do.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit ain't nothing to play with. That shit ain't nothing to, like, that shit serious, especially when you.
When we first dropped that video, we honestly thought we had the whole thing figured out. The nightclub, the argument, the shooting, and the NFL player. It looked like a closed case, but we couldn't have been more wrong. Since that upload, new information has exploded out of nowhere, flipping the entire story on its head. We're talking about actual police documents, forensic evidence, witness statements that never made it to the news, and then the real bombshell hit. Word started spreading in the streets about who Keion White is really connected to and what those ties mean for Lil Baby's future. Let me say this loud and clear. This isn't just some simple rap beef that spiraled out of control in a nightclub anymore. This has turned into a full-blown crisis with eyes on every side. The feds are watching, the NFL is watching, and now the California Bloods are tuned in too. This situation has layers, and every new piece makes it even messier. Now, if you missed the first video, don't worry, you can catch that later. But here's the quick foundation, and I'm lacing in the new updates as we go because things get wild fast. February 9th, Super Bowl weekend. San Francisco is lit. The 49ers have just played, the whole Bay Area is buzzing, and everyone who's anyone is out celebrating hard. Keion White, defensive end for the 49ers, decides to throw his own private post-Super Bowl party. He books out the entire downstairs section of Dia Lounge on Mission Street. His event, his crowd, his space, his rules. Now here's where things start to twist. Lil Baby had just finished performing that same Sunday night, and after his show, he and his crew pull up to the same spot, Dia Lounge. They hit the main floor, the public area. The place is packed. Strippers, music, bottles, the whole vibe. But somewhere in the middle of all that noise, someone from Lil Baby's entourage decides they want into the private downstairs section, the one Keion White reserved. And that's when the night started to unravel fast. Lil Baby's crew tried to push their way into a private party they had no business being at, straight up. Keion White wasn't having it, so he stepped in to confront him, and that's when things got tense. The argument popped off so hard that one witness ran upstairs looking for the manager to cool things down. But before that person could even make it back, boom, shots rang out from the downstairs section. Some witnesses said they heard 2 shots, others swore it was 4. Either way, it was chaos. When the smoke cleared, Keion White was on the floor, hitting the left leg. The cops showed up at 4:06 in the morning, walking into a scene that was half party, half crime scene. People still trying to slip out the doors, but White was still alive downstairs, but bleeding out. That's the basic story most people heard, but what came out in the actual police report, that's what flipped this case upside down. This is the part the big news outlets completely skipped over, and it's wild. The leaked SFPD report, which later hit the Standard and other outlets, included details that made everyone question what really went down in that private room. Here's what the investigators found. 2 shell casings on the floor, not 1, 2. And get this, one was from a 9mm, the other from a .45 caliber. 2 totally different guns. That means one of 2 things. Either someone had 2 different weapons and was switching mid-shootout, which almost never happens, or there were multiple shooters inside that small private space. Multiple guns going off at 4 a.m. in a club basement. That's next level insane. But wait, it gets even crazier. The investigators also found an abandoned phone at the scene. Yeah, someone dropped their phone and ran, left it right there in the chaos. Think about that for a second. Somebody panicked so hard when those shots started flying that they bolted, leaving their whole digital life behind. Every text, every photo, every contact, every Jeep's ping just sitting there on the floor, waiting for SFPD's forensic team to scoop it up and start digging through. That one phone could end up exposing everything. If that phone belongs to anyone tied to what went down that night, that's a career-ending, freedom-ending disaster waiting to happen. Phones don't lie. Not in court, not under pressure, never. Every message, every call, every Jeep's ping, all of it turns into evidence. And once the feds get their hands on that data, there's no spinning the story. But then comes the part that really made jaws drop. When police found Keion White and straight up asked him who shot him, he said nothing, not a single word. The man took a bullet to the leg, went through surgery, came out fine, and still refused to tell officers who pulled the trigger. That silence speaks volumes. It's not just loyalty, it's a message. We'll circle back to that, but trust me, it means a lot. Now here's the real tea nobody in the sports media world is brave enough to spill. And I'm being exact here because the weight of this is serious. Keion White didn't just pop up out of nowhere and land in the NFL. Before the draft, before the Patriots, before his trade to the 49ers, this man had roots, deep ones. He came up through the streets before the bright lights and sponsorship deals. Word spreading heavy in certain Bay Area circles says White's got real ties to the California Bloods, not the LA sets, but Bay Area Bloods. And that right there changes everything. Because Bay Area blood culture, it's a whole different world. It's not random chaos, it's organized, strategic, built on generations of structure and a code that doesn't bend. And that code, it's crystal clear. You don't touch one of theirs and walk away like it's nothing, ever. That's a violation, and violations don't get ignored. The Bay's blood sets have a system, old heads, connections, and consequences. And that's what makes this situation so dangerous. Now here's the heavy part. Keion White not talking to police says more than 1,000 words ever could. Think about it. This man has every legal lifeline possible. NFL lawyers, team security, top-tier connections. He could have easily handled this through official channels, but he didn't. He chose silence. And silence in this context isn't weakness, it's strategy. From a street perspective, that silence means one thing: he's letting his people deal with it. It's a signal that the streets are already aware, already reacting, and already handling things their way. And for anyone who doesn't understand California street politics, especially in the Bay, you need to know this. The Bay Area Bloods move quietly, but their reach runs deep, and their memory, it's long, real long. They don't forget violations, ever. The streets don't just let things slide because time passes, or because cameras are rolling, or because the person who got hit happens to be a celebrity with $1 million career. If anything, that makes it worse. When something like this happens in public, in front of witnesses, on the news, tied to someone with their name buzzing, that increases the pressure to respond, not reduce it. In the streets, silence means respect, but it also demands action. And make no mistake, that silence from Keion White, the streets heard it loud and clear. What's been building since this story first broke isn't happening in courtrooms. It's happening quietly, off the radar, and it's not the kind of movement you can control once it starts. Let me break this down, because a lot of people have no clue just how many fires Lil Baby's dealing with right now. This isn't just one issue, it's 3 major crises all crashing down at the same time. Problem number 1, the feds. Let's get this straight. Lil Baby hasn't been charged with anything. He's still walking free. But federal attention doesn't just vanish because you rebrand or switch your label name from 4PF to Glass Window. Those same agents who've been circling for years, they didn't disappear. They've just been waiting for a reason to move. And this right here, a multi-state shooting, his name popping up in a police report, shell casings found, an abandoned phone with potential links to his camp, that's enough to reopen every file with his initials on it. The feds don't rush, they build, they stack evidence, they wait, and when they move, it's because they're ready. Problem number 2, the NFL. The San Francisco 49ers just had one of their players shot during Super Bowl weekend in their own city. You think the league's just sitting back, letting that slide? Not a chance. The NFL's front office is already running internal investigations, talking to team security, and digging into every detail. There are ownership-level conversations happening behind closed doors right now about image, liability, and damage control. The NFL protects its brand like gold, and this type of scandal brings exactly the kind of attention they don't want anywhere near their players. Keep an eye on how the 49ers front office moves in the coming months. Trades, statements, quiet roster adjustments, all of that will reveal how deep this really goes. And problem number 3, the streets. And this is the one that should really be keeping Lil Baby awake at night. We're not talking about lawsuits or PR. We're talking about California streets, and specifically the people tied to Keion White who don't deal with lawyers or courtrooms. These are people who move on principle, not paperwork. If someone connected to them feels disrespected or violated, it doesn't get solved with apologies. It gets handled their way. Now, here's where things really start to twist. When you look at this whole situation from the ground up, the argument, the gunfire, the chaos, everything tracks back to one thing: the entourage. Lil Baby didn't book Dia Lounge. He didn't crash Keion White's private party. From every detail that surfaced, it all started when his crew, his own people, decided that standing next to a big name gave them the right to go anywhere they wanted. They thought fame was an all-access pass, and that's the exact mindset that got somebody shot and sent to surgery. Now, let's be real for a second, because this part matters. Lil Baby has been clearly trying to distance himself from that old energy for a while now. The label switch from 4PF to Glass Window wasn't random. That was a strategic move. He's been trimming his circle, cutting ties, making quieter, smarter decisions behind the scenes. And honestly, that shows growth. It shows self-awareness that a lot of people in this spot never even reach. But here's the hard truth. And this situation exposed it in the ugliest way possible. You can't just change your label name and drop 2 or 3 people from your inner circle and think the storm's over. The problem isn't just a couple of faces. It's a culture that follows you until you completely cut it loose. You can try to move different, speak different, dress corporate, but if your team's still moving reckless, your past will keep pulling you right back in. That's the brutal lesson here. Rebranding can't protect you from what your entourage does when the cameras aren't around. Because when things go left, it's your name in the headlines, not theirs. And no matter how many hits you've got, the streets out west don't care about chart positions. They care about respect. And once that line's been crossed, there's no easy way to walk it back. The real problem isn't just a few bad moves. It's a whole culture inside that entourage that never changed. A culture where the name Lil Baby gets thrown around like a weapon, used to demand access, bend rules, and push boundaries that don't belong to them. A culture where 15 or 20 people roll deep, thinking that their numbers and that name mean the world has to move out of their way. That's not loyalty. That's chaos. And if the mindset doesn't change, it doesn't matter how many faces you swap out. The same drama keeps showing up. The entire operating system needs a reset, not just the roster. Because here's the truth. Every time Lil Baby walks into a room, he's not just walking in as a star. He's carrying the behavior of every single person in his crew. And if one person acts wild, it stains the whole brand. You can't control what you refuse to correct, and that's where everything keeps falling apart. Now let's zoom out, because this isn't happening in isolation. If you've been paying attention to what's been going down in Atlanta's rap scene the last few years, then you already know this moment should be setting off alarms. Look at Fulton County, the same place that built the YSL RICO case. They took Young Thug's entire world and turned it into evidence, using lyrics, lifestyle, and public appearances to paint a federal picture. They pulled in multiple people from the same ecosystem and showed everybody just how far the system will go once it decides to build a case around a hip-hop network. And guess what? Lil Baby comes from that exact same world. Same city, same energy, same connections, same conversations that got other names caught up. His name's been floating in those circles for years. Every single incident that puts his name in a police report, every shell casing linked to a scene, every statement from a witness, every clip caught on camera, it all becomes another thread in a massive federal web that's quietly being woven behind the scenes. People don't understand how RICO cases really work. They're not built overnight. They're built slowly, piece by piece, over years. Investigators collect incidents, track relationships, build timelines, and then, when they've got enough, they drop that indictment like a bomb, and everyone acts shocked. But the signs? They were always there, clear as day. And look at what's happening with Lil Durk right now. It's the same pattern unfolding in real time. The feds have proven they don't care about your fame, your hits, or how many trophies you got on your shelf. When they decide to come, they come hard. And here's the part that cuts the deepest. If Lil Baby ever ends up facing charges tied to this mess or anything around it, the industry won't save him. The label, they'll keep his catalog. The music, still making money. Those contracts, they're built to protect the company, not the artist. The industry has a long, dirty history of cashing in on artists' downfalls, profiting while pretending to offer support. That's the cold truth nobody around him wants to say out loud. But I will, because it's real. And before we move on, we need to circle back to something major. What Keion White's silence to the police really means. Because that one decision might be the most dangerous message in this entire story. When you look at everything we've just broken down, it's wild to realize what actually happened that night. Keion White got shot at his own private party, inside his own event, by someone tied to an entourage that wasn't even supposed to be there. He went under the knife, came out of surgery, and when SFPD sat him down and asked him straight up, "Who shot you?" he gave them nothing. Not a single name, not a single word. Now sure, if you're looking from the outside, you might think he's just being careful. Maybe he didn't see who did it. Maybe his lawyers told him to stay quiet until things settled. That's all possible, yeah, but in the world he comes from, that silence means something completely different. In that culture, keeping quiet after getting hit isn't fear, it's a statement. It's a message to everyone watching that this won't be handled in a courtroom. It's getting handled through other channels. That kind of silence speaks louder than any press conference ever could. It's him saying, this isn't for lawyers or police, this one's personal. It's him letting his people know that the situation's in their hands now. And the streets heard that message clear as day.
And from what's being said in the Bay right now, those California Bloods connected to Keion White aren't sitting around waiting for paperwork, arrests, or official statements. They've already been in motion since the night it went down. Quietly, strategically, and with intent. What nobody can predict is what that response is gonna look like, when it hits, where it hits, or who it hits. But one thing's for sure, Lil Baby and his team better be taking this seriously. This isn't some minor club drama anymore. This is a situation that could explode at any time if it's not handled right. Real talk, Lil Baby got lucky that night in San Francisco. He ran into one of the few people disciplined and connected enough to keep it out of the public eye for now. But silence in the streets doesn't mean peace. It means moves are being made behind the scenes. And once those wheels start turning, there's no easy way to stop them. But here's the reality that nobody around Lil Baby seems to be spelling out. This situation didn't just create tension in the streets, it's starting to ripple through the industry too. Ever since that shooting hit the headlines, the phones behind the scenes have been buzzing non-stop. Promoters have gone quiet, venues are reevaluating their security policies, and certain brands that were ready to lock in deals are now backing off. Nobody wants to be the next name tied to controversy if things go south again. And that's the part people forget. When your image gets tied to gunfire, the business world moves in silence. Labels start adding review clauses, sponsors hit pause on campaigns, and event organizers start acting like they never had your number. It's not just the streets applying pressure anymore, it's the money. The truth is, in 2026, being a superstar isn't just about hits and followers. It's about how clean your name stays when the cameras stop rolling. The feds don't have to indict you for your brand to crumble. All it takes is fear. Fear that another story, another headline, another shooting might drop tomorrow. And right now, Lil Baby's entire circle is radiating that fear like a spotlight. Behind closed doors, execs are watching closely. They've seen this movie before. Big artist, big entourage, big ego. And one bad night turns into a domino effect that ends careers. The same way YSL's case made every label tighten up their legal teams, this incident has execs quietly red flagging anyone even loosely tied to the situation. And that means less protection, less opportunity, and more isolation. Now here's the coldest truth of all. The music industry only rides with you when you're profitable. The minute your name becomes too risky, they'll ghost you faster than a bad contract. They'll call it restructuring or brand repositioning, but really it's self-preservation. They'll collect your royalties while you're stuck cleaning up the mess. And Lil Baby's team better understand, this isn't just about survival in the streets anymore. It's survival in the system. The same industry that cheered him on for being real is now terrified of the same reality he came from. That's the double standard of fame. They want the street image, not the street consequences. If this situation keeps spiraling, Lil Baby won't just be dodging street retaliation. He'll be fighting to keep his career alive while his own name gets treated like a liability. Because when both the streets and the suits start backing away, that's when you find out who's really loyal and who was just around for the shine.
But luck always runs out. And with the next Super Bowl set for Los Angeles, that countdown just got real. This is where I'm leaving it. But before we wrap, I need everyone to really think about what this means, because this story isn't just about Lil Baby anymore. What we're witnessing right now is the price of living halfway between two worlds, trying to play the game of fame while still keeping one foot planted in the streets. Lil Baby is a Grammy-winning, chart-topping artist, a generational name who climbed out of the trenches and built an empire from nothing. He's got money, power, and every opportunity in the world to create a legacy that lasts decades. But as long as the people around him still move with that street-first mentality, while he's trying to move like a global superstar, there's always gonna be a collision waiting to happen. Nights like February 9th aren't bad luck. They're the natural result of living in two realities that can't exist together. When the entourage acts one way and the artist's image projects another, that's a ticking bomb, and eventually something's gotta give. You can't claim evolution while your circle still operates by the same code that created the chaos in the first place. Now stack that against the three fronts closing in right now: the feds, the NFL, and the California Bloods. The feds are building quietly but patiently. The NFL is watching closely and publicly. And the California Bloods, they take violations personally, and they don't settle scores in courtrooms. Each one of those alone would be enough to shake someone's entire career. But all three at once, that's a storm you can't just PR your way out of. This isn't something that can be fixed with a label rebrand or a few quiet unfollows on Instagram. This demands real action, not for image, but for survival. The kind of action that comes from cutting ties completely, changing habits, and facing some hard truths about who's really there for the man versus who's just there for the fame. Right now, there's no official timetable for Keion White's return to the field. The investigation's still open. No suspects have been named. And on paper, it looks like things have gone quiet. But silence doesn't mean nothing's happening. It just means the real resolution is happening somewhere else, behind closed doors, in conversations the public will never hear. If I'm Lil Baby right now, I'm not just asking who needs to be cut from the team. I'm asking something deeper. What am I actually willing to lose? Because if he doesn't answer that question soon, the world might answer it for him. And when that happens, no label, no brand, and no apology will be enough to clean it up. Because the way things are looking right now, that answer might get made for him before he ever gets the chance to decide for himself. The clock's ticking, the pressure's closing in, and every move from here on out is gonna matter. This isn't just about music anymore. It's about survival, reputation, and legacy. The wrong step could flip everything upside down. And the craziest part is, it's all happening in real time. Every headline, every rumor, every silence is shaping what comes next. Now I want to hear what you think. Does this whole situation blow up even bigger, or does it quietly fade away behind the scenes? Do you think Lil Baby's circle cleans house, or does history repeat itself one more time? Drop your thoughts down below and let's talk about it, because this story is far from over. And if you haven't already seen the first video, go watch it right now. Everything in this breakdown hits way different once you understand the full picture. Hit that like button if you're locked in with us, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and share this video with someone who needs to see the truth behind what's really going on. Drop a comment below, keep your eyes open, and stay safe out there, because the streets don't wait for anyone.